Hello, everybody, and welcome into today's episode of the Expend to Drop podcast. My name is Sunny. I'll be your host, and of course, I'm joined today by my wonderful co-hosts. We have, of course, Trevor, aka Not Sure It.
Hello.
I got you. Julian, aka Julian. And of course, we have Giant Skyhawk, aka Eminem.
That's I can't believe you would put that on me. That's unbelievable.
It's okay. We have a sound drop. And, of course, we have our PNG tuber producer, Law, who's around.
I'm here.
Indeed he is. Alrighty. Well, we have quite a bit to cover and get into today. Notably, this episode is going to be covering some stuff that I don't think most of you listeners have actually seen or heard about, which is why we, of course, have the wonderful Giant Skyhawk here with us. Most of you will remember Giant... I say most of you. What a bold assumption. Some of you, a very select few, will remember Giant Skyhawk as my co-host on the Top Cut Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcast before, we had a real card game podcast happening. And with that, Skyhawk, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell people who you are to Elestrals specifically.
Sure. Hello. I'm Giant Skyhawk. I am one of the rules managers with Elestrals. So I help run the judge program. I help write a lot of the tutorial documents. I help run all of the tournaments. That's what I do. I help with templating card effects. That's pretty much what I do here. I'm the front facing side of the duo that is myself and SDF.
So, what is your actual title?
Rules manager.
Okay. So, and you're also functionally head of the judge program, right?
Kind of. Yeah, I would say kind of.
Co-lead. Yeah.
I think since I started, I have been the lead judge for every Premier Elestrals tournament except for one. So that will probably change soon. But for now, I'm the lead judge.
Well,
Judge.
We really do appreciate you joining us today. So today we are going to be covering some new cards and new keywords that have come out, as well as some new rules changes that have been proposed. And I think they're really interesting, but I wanted to have Skyhawk here, being the rules manager of the game, to kind of talk about some of the nuance behind the rules changes and why we are having these being proposed and kind of where this is all coming from and why they could be beneficial or not to the game. Notably, we decided to go ahead and do a podcast episode about it because the proposed rules changes are coming from the Judge Discord server. So if you become a rules helper or judge for Elestrals, you can join this Discord server. And it's kind of like a deeper resource and deeper resource for people that are rules helpers and things. That way, say you're being a rules helper for your locals or something like that, you can go into the Discord server and get expedited responses on things that directly from the rules helper team or from directly from the rules manager and the team of Elestrals.
But don't go in there and ping everybody. I'm so tired of that.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. Ping Skyhawk over and over.
True.
It's in the job description.
Yeah, I'm not a judge, but I can just ping Skyhawk directly.
I can also do that, yeah. So definitely, by the way, if you are kind of trying to get your fledgling local scene going, be sure to do the rules helper exam and check that out. It's a lot of fun. It's worth doing, and the judging program could always use the help. With that said. So these rules changes were proposed in the server, and they're not. It's because it's not like a private server. It's kind of public. Some people have heard about these. Some people haven't. But it's not like a private thing necessarily. It's not super exclusive. So I did want to talk about it on the podcast. So because so many people aren't going to see those rules changes, I wanted to be able to let the public have a say and let people kind of voice their thoughts and opinions. Before that, though, I think that there is a bit of housekeeping and announcements to do. Julian, you had an announcement that you wanted to make.
Yeah, so I've started up a new Elestrals League based on state teams. I think that it's going to be a great way to connect with other people playing in your state as you chat about what you're going to be bringing that week and stuff like that, but also connect you with people out of state. I think it's going to be a great way to get some more fun games in, get to know people better. It's going to be a great time. So make sure you go to your state Discord and ask around about joining the Major League Elestrals.
All right, so be sure to go and join your state's local Discord server for Elestrals. I believe you can find links to all of those in the main Elestrals Discord, maybe in the announcements channel. Is that right?
You can always, I mean, when I was joining all 50 Discords to start sending people messages, I just asked in the general chat, hey, does somebody have this? And like 3 people sent it. So,
Perfect.
I mean, there's going to be tons of people who are happy to help out. You should be able to find it pretty easily.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're building the ambassador program too. So if there's an ambassador, they can always drag you in somewhere. And so that's another like point to it. So yeah.
Absolutely. The main Elestrals Discord server is usually the avenue that you can go down to find pretty much all the resources that you need. But I absolutely recommend you checking out those local state servers. It's something that the ambassador program is really pushing right now so that it's easier to connect with people in your local area. A couple other housekeeping things. Live stream pre-orders are live right now. I think we have a code, something? Law? Do we have a code?
So that is a link, not a code, and it is down in the description below. I will make sure that is linking directly to the live stream pre-orders page. But if in case otherwise, it is reference code the law. We currently do not have one set up directly for the Caster's Corner channel, but we do have one set up that goes to me, which then goes back to Caster's Corner. So fair enough.
Yeah. We'll work on that, but in the meantime, use that code, use that referral, use that link to help out the channel. And as long as you're in the mood to help out the channel, we do have a Clash code. I believe it's...
Hop on.
Hop on.
Hop on.
Hop on.
Use code Hop On
Next time
and
you
check
hop
out on
on
Elestrals Clash. All right. Now, when you hop on Elestrals Clash. All right. Any other points of notes, housekeeping, announcements, anything else I'm missing, gentlemen?
Yeah, I got something. I just want to get out of the way. So if I play a Galaxy and my opponent chains Poison Tipped Arrow.
Okay. I would like to take this opportunity to set the record about this. So, in Elestrals, stat changes apply in a particular order. So the question that's being asked, yeah, thanks, shit.
I got you.
I can't believe you had this on lock. The bobblehead will continue to haunt me for the rest of my days.
You're going to kiss me, right?
You
gotta sign this. You gotta sign it.
Well,
Can we get like a
if you bring it,
custom
we'll make it
card
happen.
made in a thing and get it like put in like a slab and give it to him with the picture of him like holding the sign?
Yeah, I do want to say while I've got the platform, it is a funny bit for people to constantly ask the question, like even if they know the answer, and I might play like I can't believe you would ask this again. But it is actually helpful for the Premier tournaments. Like if somebody is new, it's one of the most common rules things that comes up. So for them to be able to be in that player meeting and hear the full explanation, on top of it being kind of like a funny moment at the beginning, shows we're welcoming, but also we're not afraid to have fun when that stuff comes up. So I will answer the question every time, unless of course
Really?
somebody asks it a second time, in which case I probably won't.
Really? So you're
Oh,
saying?
dang, I was just about to ask you again.
So you're saying?
You didn't answer it the first time.
He's got a point. He tried.
No. It's a different card. It's Galaxy Champion of Poseidon.
Right,
Ah,
of course,
okay.
yes, makes a huge difference.
I will say, not to say I told you so, but I did tell you that you would constantly be explaining how that works, constantly at every
sure.
event.
If you join the judge server by passing the rules helper test, which you can find at elestrals.com/
That question's on the rules helper test, by the way.
/training. It's not just that question on the rules helper test, but if you end up in the judge server, there's actually a video in, I believe, the announcement channel or the resources channel of myself and SDF going over why the stat changes are the way that they are. It is something that we have to continuously like explain to new people as they come in, because it might be different from other games that they've played. But the upside is that once you understand how all three of those levels of stat changes work, you can look at a board state and answer the vast majority of questions. They're right there, right from the how to play guide. So we value giving players a little bit to learn up front, and while that is a roadblock, once they have that, they can answer a super wide breadth of questions that come up in their own games. So that little bit of learning is beneficial to keeping players kind of in the rule system for the long term, is our position anyway.
I think that is a fair answer, by the way, if anybody is asking the question of why does this work like this? It doesn't work like this in any of the games I play normally. Like, why is this? That is the reason. If anybody's wondering why that is the way that it is and why it's never been changed, that has consistently been the reason. So listen to the Expend Draw podcast. You get some real good insider info from people like the rules manager of the game.
I just
All
work
right.
here.
So I just work here. I just cast here. So let's go ahead and get on into these rules changes while we are thinking about it. So I'm going to go ahead, and I've kind of prefaced them already with the, I'm going to go to the point of order channel and go reread these. So from Giant Skyhawk, we're considering a few rule changes and are looking for some input. Another wonderful, wonderful reason to become a judge, because you can actually give input on these things. They do come to the judges and the rules helpers in the program to get their input. Now, the way that something goes in this server and the way that the vote goes in this server isn't necessarily indicative of what the team will do. They're just trying to gauge the feel of the community. These potential rules changes. Am I cool to read this word for word, Skyhawk?
Yeah, sure, go for it. I got no problem with that. And just to preface a little bit, nothing in the judge server is necessarily private per se. We keep it there just because it's a way that we can get announcements out to judges and to rules helpers and people who've passed those tests. And like Sonny said, it's a way for us to gauge feedback whenever something comes up that we think the community should have input on. We ask here just because these are the people that have demonstrated that they understand some of the higher order concepts in Elestrals. And so hypothetically, they might have an informed opinion on possible changes. It gives us just like a quick place to say, hey, everybody who has passed the rules test, come take a look at this and tell us what you think. You can see in all the individual threads, if you're in the server, there's probably like almost 600 messages between all of the threads. We read all of them. We make sure when stuff like this comes through that we're asking for feedback first, so that if there's something that we missed, it gets pointed out to us. Or if it turns out everybody thinks that this is a bad idea, then we can say, all right, we hear you.
And for those here and listening, leave a comment. Like a big part of this episode being structured the way that it is for people in the community to leave their feedback in our comment section as well. But please, I can't emphasize this enough, make sure that if you do leave a comment with feedback, that it is constructive and helpful feedback, and not just mudslinging. We are here to make this game better in a way that we can all appreciate and love. And what we're not here to do is be rude and be unhelpful. We're not here to drag anyone through the mud because of a dissenting opinion, because having dissenting opinions isn't a bad thing. Being able to have an open and intelligent discussion about them is how we all grow and how the game grows. So I can't emphasize enough being able to have these conversations. Sorry,
I'll give you a 9 out of 10 for that one. You missed the opportunity for a mudslide pun, so I have to dock you 1 point.
Yeah, I was thinking that the whole time. I thought for sure that he was building up to it, and that he was just gonna hit it at the end because he said mudslide like.
Do you even play this game?
Or something twice.
Do you even play this game?
Barra Boss coming in live stream.
Pre-orders.
I'm disappointed in myself.
You can sling mud at your opponent in live stream.
I'm actually going to have each of us take one of these. Julian and Trevor, I'm assuming both of you have this pulled up.
You would be wrong. You would be absolutely wrong.
I'm going to copy and paste it into the group chat, okay?
Sure.
Law, you're going to have to do some chopping here.
Listen, there's
Keep in the part where we said no.
No, you can keep
something
that.
fun. I think we've got I think we've passed over 150 people that have passed the rules helper test. So I actually don't know which of you have passed. It's starting to get tricky to keep track.
I failed the judge exam.
You know I've
but-
passed.
I am going to take the first one. Who wants to volunteer for 2?
So wait, number 1 is can't play if it's full.
Can't play invoke runes from their hand if the rune row is full.
I want to take number 2.
Okay, you went number 2. And Trevor, you click number 3?
Yep.
Okay, all right. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and jump in on these. We're going to take them one at a time. So these potential rule changes largely stem from conversations with the Elestrals Clash development team in an effort to reduce some confusing interactions for newer players. And these changes would universally apply to the TCG and Elestrals Clash if implemented. These rule changes are the following. Before I go into them, Skyhawk, do you want to expound any on that, or do you want to just leave that as is? I know there's some confusion in the server with it being Elestrals Clash.
Yeah, I'll put it up a
team
bit.
stuff.
So I can't get into everything because there's obviously a lot of internal conversations that happen. But
Right.
the Pixelborn team that's working on Clash came to us with a list of like kind of proposed changes. These are people that are spending basically every day with the game and have been since development started. So hearing feedback from them is super useful because they're like we're going back and forth with them about how cards work and how systems work. So they're spending a lot of time on not just the rules of the game, but also game flow and trying to help intuitiveness for players. So when they come to us with something, we take it seriously. These changes were the ones that we felt like could be implemented and wouldn't cause necessarily too much change, or were stuff that we had already thought of. For example, the second change with invokes and counter runes not being able to play Misenchanted, that is something that we had actually proposed like probably 4 or 5 months ago. It's a conversation that we had. So know that these are not coming from this is not coming from a place of we want to burn the whole thing down. Notably, it's also why we asked for feedback, because some of these changes I don't think are that significant, but for people that have already been playing, inertia is a super powerful force. So this is a way for us to measure how important a particular rule is to people who are playing. So the feedback was good, but yeah, if you want to go through the changes aside from that, then that's all I've got to say off the top.
So the first change is, first proposal is, players can no longer play invoke runes from their hand if the rune row is full. So, some people listening might not even know this. If you don't play like a mountain of Elestrals, I actually had already like played a decent amount of Elestrals and was testing for Dallas, which, you know, I'm a bit more casual than a lot of other players. I'm not extremely hyper competitive. So sometimes there might be a certain rule or something that gets lost on me. Maybe I like read it in the rule book and it's like, it just never came up. But this was something that I was actually play testing and somebody did to me. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know there was a thing you could do. But yeah, so currently the way it stands is that if your rune row is full, like if you have 4 set cards in your rune row, and you want to just say, I want to play an Ambrosia, you can just send one of the runes on your field to the underworld to play that Ambrosia. And for me personally, I'm not the biggest fan of this rule existing. It doesn't seem necessary. It seems almost redundant in a sense. I think I left some expansive thoughts on this in the thread for this.
You did. I read them.
Yeah, let me scroll for. Give me a second. I do actually want to like just.
While Sunny is looking, I am actually
I found
curious
it.
while we're here. Oh, okay, never mind.
So the 3 reasons that I put that this rule should be removed. Newer players are at an inherent disadvantage because this is a rule that, as mentioned, does not generally get taught. You learn it when you get blasted by an invoke you didn't think could be played. 2, this can cause unnecessary judge calls due to the above scenario and a new player not understanding what's happening. If I'm being honest, that one feels pretty minor. That feels like a pretty easily resolved thing that you learn it once and then you know it. At 3, there is no inherent reason to have this rule because due to having no hand size restriction, there is nothing forcing you to set or play cards. Holding onto your cards and not setting too many back row will not inherently put you at a disadvantage. So like in Yu-Gi-Oh, because you have a 6-card hand limit, there are times where in a slow game state, you keep drawing cards every turn, but you don't want to commit more to, you don't want to commit more guys to the board. So you just keep setting cards so that you don't have to discard at the end of your turn. That's not a thing here. So there's nothing that you would feel is like forcing you to set more cards. So it's just to your benefit to not set them. That way you have the opportunity to play cards. That's my purview on it. I don't like the rule. I think it can go, but I'm also not that I'm not that set on it either way.
Yeah, I'm curious what Shirt and Julian think, because I'm already well aware of what Sonny thinks about all of these.
I'm nothing if not vocal.
Yeah.
I think that this rule is fine to stay. I don't feel too strongly about it. If you want to set 4 back row, here's my Aviolith. I don't think you should be setting 4 back row anyway. The one time I have had this come up, I was playing against a Bears player, and I had Pandora's Box, and they had the bear that locks a back row. So I set 4, saying, you're not playing Hurricane. They sniped the Pandora's Box anyway. But it would have been nice to be able to say, okay, this Pandora's Box is useless to me now. You already resolved the stadium. I'll just cast something over it instead of having to wait. It was nice to be able to, if I had needed to, cast Ambrosia over that spot. And it was something that I was aware of in the moment, which is why I felt comfortable setting 4. That's a really niche scenario. I don't think it's really going to be coming up that much. I would like the rule to stay, but it's not going to hurt my feelings if it goes.
Yeah, I'm this is probably one of the least ones I'm passionate about. I would say, probably just leave it as it is. I think the intention behind the rule was you never wanted to be locked out of playing the game. Where it's like if you had a full rune row, it's like, oh, now I can't do anything. This game sucks. I'm never going to play it again. So I think the intention there
feels bad.
Yeah, I think that was the intention. And it is one of those things that doesn't come up often. But it is like you said, once you learn it, you kind of know it. And it does come up with some interesting mechanics questions where it's like, oh, I will send this face-up artifact rune and then use the spirit to siphon to play my invoke. I think that's cool. I think that's a really cool interaction. And Sonny, I don't think you knew that could do it.
No.
You didn't know that could happen either.
No, I didn't. This is the first time I've ever heard of that.
Yep. Yeah.
I would call a judge immediately.
Yeah.
Because I'm winning.
Thanks for the thoughts. For what it's worth, personally, I think this is probably the most reasonable of the 3 changes, in terms of the benefit to removing it from the game versus the drawback. I do think I think the interesting discussion points that came up was sure you mentioned the being able to send a face-up rune. So if you have a divine or an artifact, you can send it away and use the spirits from it, and that's because you choose the spirits for the invoke you're playing before you select the zone, and then you send the card afterwards.
I will say, if I may interject real quick, the only reason I even knew that was a possible play is because I did that in freaking Elestrals Season 3, overriding my Zeus for something.
Yeah.
And it's a very niche interaction.
Yeah. So I think that's the best argument for removing it, is that it comes up once every 100 games. It's like you're in a huge grind and you send one away.
Once every 100 is generous.
Yeah. I also think it is. I think it's a cool depth piece, because I do think there are games where you get locked out, right? From the perspective of, I understand this, and so now I have additional tactics available to me, and it's also not free to do. If you're sending a counter rune, that is a legit cost. I'm losing a counter rune to be able to play an invoke. You are paying the cost of an additional card to be able to play your invoke. So that is the punish for setting all of them. So I think I think the best argument for removing this is that it is a random jump scare thing that you can get punished for if you didn't read that particular part of the how to play guide. But I think that's true of almost any rule in any card game. So I'm not very convinced that it's the best mechanism for deciding what should go and what should stay. This is probably the one that I would see as being the most likely to be implemented. But for what it's worth, I'm not definitively at all. I highly doubt any of these will end up being implemented. This was, I think, the closest vote. The polls ended. I think I left them open for a week. They ended shortly, and I believe it was it looks like we're at 55% in favor of not making the change and 45% in favor of making the change. So people are kind of divided
That's
on
close.
it. Yeah, I don't think it's like I said, I think this is probably the most reasonable one. But I think in circumstances like this, where you're changing something that's been established for the entire history of the game, you kind of want a more overwhelming response to, yeah, you know what? I think this doesn't make sense. We should get rid of it. So if people are divided on it, then I think it's one of those things where it's not worth messing with what exists. If I think established players sometimes can get forgotten when these changes get made. So that's why we ask for feedback too.
I think for what it's worth, I don't care either way if this one stays or goes, if I'm being really honest. Like, it felt like there was a lot of people making the argument and in one way in the thread, and I was like, I'll just say this is the reason to make the change. Like if you're all saying why would we even consider this, these are the reasons you would consider it.
It has the least consequences of the three for sure. It doesn't come up very often.
Well, it's going to come up far less now that Hurricane is a legal card. People just are not wanting to set a mount in a back row. Like a year ago, this would have been a fairly consequential change, but with Hurricane being a thing, people just don't set 4.
I'm not scared of Hurricane. I'm scared of Julian's Aviolith. That's the real.
True.
Also true and real. All right.
As you should be.
As you should be. Julian, you want to jump into the second one for us?
Yeah, so in my opinion, the second one is the most meaningful.
Can you read it out first?
Yeah, I was about to.
Okay. I thought you were just about to go into discussion. I was like, they haven't heard it.
It's like I'm back on the Top Cut podcast again. It's phenomenal.
All right. So,
Don't
invoke
detonate
runes
me.
and counter runes can no longer be played misenchanted. Continuous runes and Elestrals can still be played misenchanted. So, I think there's two reasons why I think that this is a bad change. One is it breaks the continuity. Being able to misenchant any card, I think, is a really easy concept to grasp. In my opinion, it's a really easy concept to grasp when you're teaching somebody the game. You put this color on it and it has text. You put any other color on it and it doesn't have text. Period. The gameplay wise, I think that there's a lot of scenarios where you can misenchant a rune to your own benefit, and I think that that's just an additional layer of skill. If you do something like I've seen in Clash, somebody plays Tsunami and they pay with like a Frost Spirit, and then nothing happens, and then they surrender. You know, I think that that's just a skill issue. And like you do it once or twice and then you figure out, okay, it doesn't do anything if I don't put a water spirit under it, and then you have learned the ruling and you move on. But there's things like, lunar phase, full moon, rock in a hard place. There are reasons why you would cast those cards misenchanted and get a benefit from them. Even something like Tsunami, pay off your guy to kill it if they're swinging with a knobby. There's a lot of interesting plays you can make with that, and I think that it is worth keeping around.
Yeah, but counterpoint. If we implement this, then Rhino Sect is like crazy.
I hate that. You know what? Hey, if it hurts Rhino Sect, I'm all on board. I'm on board for whatever hurts Rhino Sect.
Well, as somebody who's topped with Rhinosect, I am interested in your opinion.
I am.
Yeah, if you can't pay off Tsunami when I empower your Elestral with Rhinymph, like we're cooking. We're so good. We're so bad. No, but I'm in the
pocket of Big Rhinymph.
Big Rhinymph, yes. A shout out to Brewlock.
I am super duper cool with this rule staying exactly the way it is because I think everything that
I am
Julian
with
said
you.
is exactly correct.
that was the overwhelming response. And for what it's worth, I did expect that. I did predict that this was the most controversial of the three. But anyway, yeah. Sorry, Sherrod, go ahead.
I think I mean I think we're all on the same page, but I think this one is what goes against the spirit of Elestrals the most, which is why it probably had the most like overwhelming support of not being changed, right? Um, like Julian said, the inconsistency. Like, why can I think of it like as a new player perspective. It's like, okay, these cards you can misenchant, these you can't because reasons. Like, I think it should all be, you can just everything can be misenchanted, and even with Clash, like if we're looking at these rule changes with Clash in mind, there is an auto enchant feature on Clash, and it will correctly enchant your tsunami for you. So I don't see, I mean, I think it's more of a paper issue if you misenchant and you didn't know that that was a thing.
Hey, Skyhawk, with the responses being so overwhelmingly against changing this, and you said you expected that, I would love for you to expound a bit on why it is that you brought this rule change forward to begin with, even if this was the expected response and you got the expected response. Why, if you don't think that anybody's going to want this rule to change, then why bring the rule change forward? Because I think this is something we discussed.
Well,
And I think it's important to touch
yeah.
on.
Well, I guess to say I didn't think everybody would be against it. Like there were,
Sure.
it was. I think it ended up 80-20 or something like that on the vote. Um, Sometimes you have to take an unpopular position. I think that is just universally true, and there are some things about how counter runes and invoke runes work that are kind of inconsistent. And this is a part of the reason this also got brought forward is because this is a question that we see super frequently from new players. In the rules and overview channel, you can go back through. It's something that we note comes up a lot in the places that people ask. I know in Discord, Nick Paid Robot has been answering most questions because Nick is just simply faster than I am. But we do read everything that comes through the like questions general and rules and overview channels to see like what questions new players have or what questions that enfranchised players have. One big thing that we have seen come up, and that's why we had discussed this change even long before the Clash Jeffs had proposed it, is because that it just kept being a question people asked, like, I can misenchant these? That's weird. It's especially more strange in cases like Rock and a Hard Place, where you have to explain to somebody that, yeah, you can play this misenchanted. If you do, it has no text, so you don't have to have any targets. But you do have to have targets if you properly enchant it. So even in the case where, like, the counter runes and invoke runes already work differently than every other card in the game, I believe SDF said this in the judge server, but they are closer to effects than they are really runes in how they function. They never have enchanting spirits. They have associated spirits because they're never actually on the field. So there's already some incongruity in how they work. There's also like a very like this is a very like rules head take, right? Where how it actually plays out in gameplay is that it's not that confusing, but it does create an inconsistency in how costs get paid. So the full payment for a card is weird. So for example, you take your enchanting spirits, you choose your targets, and you pay other costs. But like if your opponent controls Volt Tempest and you control Zeus, you can take the spirit from Zeus to pay for Laurels and kill Volt Tempest. So there's like Zeus is now misenchanted, Volt Tempest is a valid target. So there's like the fact that they work the way they currently do means that there is a difference in the order of how things work depending on whether you're playing something properly enchanted or not, or whether something is enchanted or it isn't.
So you said that you could kill a Volt Tempest if you pay the last spirit off of Zeus with resting?
Yes, because at the point that you choose the spirit, you
Oh,
pull the
law,
spirit
you're
off
cooked.
of it.
I'm siding resting.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, you didn't know that one, did you? Yeah. So that's because the passive effect of Volt Tempest stops applying as soon as you pull the spirit off of it. Zeus is no longer enchanted, so you pull those spirits before you choose the target for resting.
Oh yeah, I'm siding resting now. You're cooked.
So something that I'm pulling this directly from what SDF said in the rule server. You can solve these inconsistencies by swapping the order of when targets are chosen and when enchanting spirits are moved. But that
So
gets very
now we
strange.
can swap the order that things happen.
It's not impossible. I'm telling you, it's the
No.
But, like-
no, keep it the same. Keep it the same.
so yeah, exactly. So rock in a hard place. So let's say we made that change and we swapped it around. Rock in a hard place would still require both targets, even if you played it Misenchanted, because you would have to choose targets before you pay the cost for the card. So you end up in there is, by keeping it the way that it is, a rules inconsistency that exists. But I think so long as that's explained, and this is, I think, what people got into in the discussion about the change, is that the functional impact on gameplay is very profound. I actually disagree with SDF on this. Is that I think the gameplay implications are important. For example, incredibly hyped to see on stream somebody going battle step Misenchanted Tsunami off of my Astrabbit to avoid Nabi going into Doppelgator, and that actually winning them the game. That was a premiere event a couple months back.
I think I did that.
Stuff like Misenchanting Full Moon. It's still considered to be cast. That being like the way to do the like avoid play in tempo pile strategies. To tempo pile, by the way. In tempo pile strategies to minimize the spirit investment into a like avoid in case there was an answer for it. And like being able to play rock and hard place Misenchanted, taking this away nerfs a lot of strategies in a way that I think is unexpected. And it harms both people trying to do interesting meta things, and people playing their pet decks that want to play like Sandstorm Misenchanted, right? So to ascend to get Cactibrum out, you know.
There's another like really cool card coming out in live stream. The Champion Findust, who gets like crazy nerfed by this, if this ruling goes in, because it says that you can cast or like wind spirits are counted as earth spirits for Elestrals and runes, something like that. So you would only be able to actually do that if the spirits were already on the board, I believe. You just wouldn't be able to activate it using 2 wind spirits from the spirit deck. Is that right?
Yes. So that's sorry, can you
RIP.
actually
Yeah, that would
hold
be-
on. Can you run that by me one more time? I
So-
was digging through another
Champion
rule section.
Findust.
Champion
Findust.
Yep.
It says wind spirits are considered earth spirits for Elestrals and runes, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
If the change was made that you cannot misenchant, you would still be able to activate it paying wind spirits off the board, but you wouldn't be able to pay it using wind spirits from the spirit deck. Is that correct?
I don't think that's something that we determined, actually. That is a question that existed on the back burner of the change. When we the exact details of every single bit are something that gets built as we make these types of proposals. Shockingly, a room of 150 people is going to see more things than a room of 2. So that I don't think we had made a call on whether that would be true or not. Findust, Findust Champion is a fun card for rules questions, though. That
I'm
definitely
sure
generates a lot of them.
I can imagine. Trevor, you want to lead us into the third one?
Yeah. So the third one here, the following game actions taken in an open game state no longer create a response window. So setting a rune, expending to draw, re-enchanting, or changing the position of an Elestral. My thoughts on this one, I don't really know why we'd be changing this one. I like having a game action opportunity, especially if there's like setting a rune or re-enchanting. It just feels natural to be like, all right, like I want to be able to do something before you do like something else. Like if I can kind of anticipate where you're going, like if you're setting a rune and then there's like a counter rune I want to play on top of that, or if I see that you're expending a draw, like I want to do this thing before you play something else. Like maybe you drew the artifact and I want to do, I don't know, get rid of your guy somehow. I don't know. But like, I don't see the reason why we'd be eliminating options for players. I just don't agree with that change.
Just to make it easier on Clash so you don't have to keep clicking no.
Yeah.
Then make auto better.
So, yeah, I was gonna say for this one, I know we only have so much time to discuss this chunk. Um, this I did largely come from like the default setting on Clash. We just got like an absolute flood of questions, like why I played Tsunami and the Elestral didn't get changed to defense position. Why? And that's because the cast of the Elestral is currently on the chain. So if you respond to that with Tsunami resolves. The Elestral's not on the field, so it's not changed to defense position, and then the cast of the Elestral resolves. Clash does let you not go through with the counter and activation, so you can back out of that, but people obviously didn't know that you could do that necessarily right away, and we're like, I'm going to Tsunami. I think that was the point that was brought up the most in the feedback thread, was just change how auto works if that's a concern, and I think that's a pretty good point. The other thing that is kind of wonky about this one is that it would only apply to I think the best argument was, well, you could remove response windows for normal actions like expending to draw, but then that gets weird because then there's not a response window for normal casting, so it only would apply to the subset of normal actions that don't work with casting. So you end up in a place where you are creating a weird middle ground for people to remember instead of all one way or all the other way. So I think the feedback on this was clear. I do think a lot of people had interesting models for this. This was the one that I think the most amount of people maybe misunderstood the proposal. So there was a lot of different thought about it.
Could you clarify
people
it then?
had their own models. Sure. So anytime an action gets taken in Elestrals, there is a response window where both players can play counter runes. So, for example, if you expend to draw, there is a response window there. When you cast an Elestral, if there's nothing waiting in limbo, and a chain resolves, so that's normal casting, or a normal action gets taken like an expend to draw. Response window happens where both players can play counter runes. Turn player has priority; they can choose to do so. If they don't, the non-turn player could choose to do so. If they don't, we go back to the turn player having priority to take an action. The idea again was just reducing the number of points where new players would have to deal with decision tree moments for like the most frequently confusing one. For example, the casting one, it's like very niche circumstances where it comes up. The best one that I could think of off the top of my head is like your opponent controls a P Gust, and they go Tower of the Winds, nexus off of A-list to P Gust to ascend. P Gust is on the same chain as the Ascension as that cast. So if P Gust would destroy a rune, you still might want to play that rune even before that Elestral hits the field as the cast. If they go Chainlink 1 cast of Elestral, Chainlink 2 P Gust. So there are circumstances where you do it. It's just they don't come up much in the current game. I think the best argument is like taking options away from players is something that generally they don't like. And that seems to be the most common piece of feedback was, I want to be able to do things.
Do you remember what the percentage was for this?
Huh?
Do you remember what the percentage was for this vote?
I don't have to remember. I have it right here.
Perfect.
This one was, I added a third option in the poll. So I had different model explained in thread. If you combine make this change, but in a different way than you described, then it's like 52 to 58%. So you could argue it wasn't the
110.
40. Sorry, my bad.
So 52 to 48.
It was actually quite close to people who wanted it and people who didn't. But again, I think this is the type of thing where it should be kind of overwhelming. So that's my
I voted
that's my thought.
against this particular change, but honestly, I see the argument for changing it. I think that there are certain actions that, like right now, I can respect the consistency of you can like respond to literally anything, but I think it's important to clarify that just because it says, you can't play, like, say, just because it says, like, oh, there's not a response window now to whatever action, like, say, an Elestral being cast, that doesn't mean that if a card triggers in that moment, it meets its trigger condition, you can still cast it, right?
I don't know that I would put that in the same conversation as this rule change. I think it just comes down to players want to be able to take to take actions and respond
Well,
to stuff their
but
opponent does.
yes, but what I'm saying is, like, if there's a card that triggers when you draw a card, right, and your opponent expends to draw, you would still have the opportunity to activate this card.
I don't think that exists, but yeah, the thing is
It's just
we aren't
idea.
dealing with we aren't dealing with a response window in that case, because there would be an effect waiting in limbo. Response window only happens when there are no effects or casts waiting in limbo to be added. So if there is an effect in limbo, then we go to building the next chain. There is no response window that occurs.
Sure. Which is where I think some of the confusion on this particular rule changes, kind of, you know what I mean? Like, I think that this is where some of the confusion comes in, and that, saying that you can no longer take these actions, or like saying that in an open game state these no longer create a response window, doesn't mean that you wouldn't still be able to respond in some way, right?
Maybe. That effect doesn't exist, so I don't know. It's if something like that did hypothetically exist, then maybe. That's
I'm
the
just trying
beauty
to create
of,
an example of a
stuff
card
that's
that
upcoming.
would meet its trigger condition under one of these things happening.
Sure, but yeah, again, at that point we wouldn't. There would be no response window. We'd be building a new chain, and players can add effects to that chain. So
Exactly.
I think we're good. So I guess I don't know if I'm jumping into like some of the rule change thing.
Go for it.
Part of why we ask for feedback on this stuff is to gauge community sentiment from the most active people who do everything. We had another change proposed a couple months back regarding whether you should be able to fail to find spirits in the spirit deck for lunar phase full moon. The scope of that one is obviously a lot more narrow, but when we come with those, we're looking for opinions, and especially for the Misenchanted one, I think SDF posted a picture that was like, well, I tried, but if ideally, if an overwhelming number of people tell you don't change this, you probably shouldn't. So that's I think where I'll leave that from our side.
Okay. At the end of the day, like I said, please, if you have constructive feedback on these topics, please leave them down below. We would love to hear constructive feedback. We would love to hear what you, the listeners, think about this. And I can't emphasize this enough, that this is not your opportunity or forum to demean or drag anybody. This is not the place to go into our comments and talk bad about anybody on the team, anybody that's a member of the judge staff, anybody that's a member of the Clash team, the dev team, anybody that's another member of the community. This is not the place to do that. Do not do it. We will delete your comment.
Yeah.
I can't be clear enough that we're just not going to take harassment.
I'll open the door if you have comments or questions. I'm in the Elestrals Discord. Shoot me a message. We can talk it out.
I mean, you can also ask a question in our comments. I'm sure Skyhawk will be in the comments. Of this video. But polite
Maybe.
questions.
We'll see.
That's what I'm saying. Don't be mean.
He'll be checking it every day.
Please.
Yeah.
Just
If you're watching this in 2026, I promise you he is checking.
2026, try 2062.
when you leave a mean comment, just know that this is who you're being mean to.
I think you're supposed to be mean to Hydrake. Isn't that the point?
You would know better than me,
Actually.
actually. Sorry. When you're being mean, this is who you're being mean to. Is that a little better?
No,
All he's trying to do is heal you.
No.
Yeah, I thought so, Mr. Heel.
Cuttable moment. Me with a gun to Hydrake's head. He's asking for it.
He's gonna ascend. He's gonna ascend.
He's gonna
That position is not endorsed by Big Bird LLC.
Hydrake flies into the. All right. Well, that's gonna wrap up the rules discussion a little bit here. We want to, I guess, sort of wrapping up rules discussion. We have a bit more rules things to cover, which is we got some new cards, and with the new cards, we also got a couple of new keywords, which Elestrals does have a few keywords already, but we've been seeing Dazed and Enraged kind of flying through a lot of the card reveals that have been happening for Livestream. But now we've actually got an announcement on what Dazed and Enrage actually do. So with that, I don't know. I said we have other keywords. Sky, can you give me a couple of other keywords off the top of your head?
Yeah, well, I think when people talk about keywords, they kind of assume it's like anything new that gets introduced, right? It's like a new thing, but there are lots of keywords that already exist. Enchant and disenchant are keywords. Cast is a
Nexus,
keyword.
Pierce.
Nexus, piercing, expend, suppress, all keywords. So, foretell.
When are we getting mill?
When do we get what?
When are we getting mill as a keyword?
It depends on.
I need more mill support.
It depends on on broad understanding. Some of this was decided in the before times before I showed up.
We're getting mill as a
Mill.
keyword when WotC gives us express permission to use it.
I mean, keywords is for shortening stuff down. This is a new mechanical thing, so having like a name to attach to it makes sense instead of spelling it out entirely in text. But yeah, we have keywords in Elestrals. Deal with it.
So we have we're gonna cover 3 new cards today, and we're not gonna be doing too much card covering. But I wanted to cover these 3 cards specifically just to kind of paint an example of the use cases for Dazed and Enrage and why they're going to be so relevant upcoming. But first card I'm going to cover, I'm just going to, I'll read Dionysus, Julian read Thrisis, whatever it is, and Trevor read Dionysus Madness.
Yep.
So we're just gonna like read through the card, kind of describe it, tell you what it does. It'll pop up on screen probably. Law, you're welcome. I gave you more work. And so when we're just gonna kind of fly through these, just to kind of give you an understanding of what the card's going to do, and then once we get through them, we'll kind of like expound a bit and go through a bit more of what the why Dazed and Enrage are gonna be so relevant, which. I already said all of that. Anyway. All right. So the first card to cover is Dionysus. It's a new divine rune. It is an earth divine rune. When you cast this Dionysus, you can enchant up to 3 earth to it. You can disenchant earth from this Dionysus in order to target an Elestral and daze it or enrage it until your next turn.
The next one is going to be Thyrsis. I think. That's how you say that. Thyrsis of Dionysus. It's an 1-cost artifact. The empowered Elestral is enraged and gets +2 attack. When Dionysus is enchanted and the empowered Elestral declares an attack, you can draw a card.
We've got Dionysus's Madness. It's a counter rune, 1-cost earth. Daze or enrage an Elestral until your next turn. If Dionysus is enchanted, you may also change that Elestral's position, and you may enchant your Dionysus with an earth from your underworld.
Sorry, who was that divine?
Dio.
I think that these 3 cards are they paint a great picture of why these keywords are relevant. And I mean, who better in the world to explain what these keywords are going to do than the one and only guy who made up what they do, Giant Skyhawk.
That's not true. That's completely untrue. I would say I am mostly not involved in design. The extent to which I am is templating effects.
The guy who typed what they do
sure
into the
they're
rule
readable.
book, Giant Skyhawk.
That's also arguably untrue. So dazed.
Don't
Dazed
quote
and
the ancient rules to me. I was there when they were written. So.
Yeah. Dazed and enraged have to do with attacking. It's kind of what you would expect off the top. I think as reveals were coming out, people kind of guessed what the deal was. Maybe missing some of the details, but a few people had the nail on the head pretty much. So a dazed Elestral cannot attack during its controller's battle phase. If you're an existing player, you can just imagine it is being prevented from attacking at all. Positions, you can do whatever you want with them, but it can't attack while it is dazed. An enraged Elestral must attack if able, and is switched to attack position during its controller's battle phase. There's a little more nuance to that, so I don't know if anybody here has any questions, but I'll go through the kind of the individual points. Enraged. An enraged Elestral must attack if able, and it's always in attack position during its controller's battle phase. A couple subpoints there. When the battle phase starts, every enraged Elestral you control that's not in attack goes to attack. If we're in the battle phase and a defense position Elestral on your field becomes enraged, it gets swapped to attack position as soon as it becomes enraged. If an effect tries to change an enraged Elestral to defense position during its controller's battle phase, it doesn't do anything. Couple of examples for that. So, during the attack step, you enrage a defense position Elestral. It'll get changed to attack position, but only during the controller's battle phase. So, you would have to be doing that to another Elestral. That one's not going to come up so much. But for trying to change positions, I think is the thing that will come up the most.
Now, when you say it changes it immediately, that's going to be only in like an open game state or in attack declaration. If you go to battle step, it's not going to still change it, right?
Correct, yes. So for the battle step specifically, it will change its position as soon as we leave the battle step. So once we do the results of battle after the damage step, once we get back into that state, then the enraged will apply and change the Elestral back to attack position if it survived that battle. But no, so like if you in the battle step, all of those rules still apply. So if you enrage an Elestral during the battle step, then it is not going to be changed to attack position. It's not going to change position because Elestrals that are involved in the battle cannot have their battle position changed. The position change thing. So the big thing is, if an effect would try to change the position, it doesn't do that. So unfortunately, for all of my Joblin enjoyers, you cannot do the defense attack position swaps with Enrage and Daze and draw 20 billion cards with Joblin. I'm very sorry to all the Schnark fans out there.
I feel targeted.
This means
that's how you know he didn't work on this one, because it would have been there.
as a Joblin and Infornax enjoyer, I am guilty as charged. I'm the author of Infornax Facts, if you didn't know. So
Where's
let's
the
say
Fornax Facts through Twitter parody account
someday.
Sunday.
Someday. Today is Sunday. It would already be happening if that was what was going on.
What a birthday present that would be.
That's happy birthday.
Thank you.
So let's say I have an enraged Elestral. I'm attacking with an enraged Elestral, and my opponent plays Tsunami. The enraged Elestral will not have its position changed. So you can still play those cards. You can still Altar of Stars. You can still Tsunami. You can still do all of that. It just won't do anything to the enraged Elestrals.
Something that was mentioned was the dazing something in the attack step. So that would work in the same way as Gorgon's Gaze, right? Where if you daze it in the attack step, then it is no longer eligible to attack, so it would cancel the attack functionally.
Yeah, the way that stopping attacks in Elestrals works in the attack step is anything that would make an attack illegal. So that includes something that says it can't attack, whether it's Gorgon's Gaze or whether it's an effect that would daze it, and being dazed says it can't attack during its controller's battle phase, or it's changed to defense position. I think the funny stuff that comes up is with Spinous Sect, but we don't talk about that. It's for SDF and I are, huh?
We could talk about it.
What was it? I have to save those actually. SDF and I are starting up some judge videos, and we have the first one is going to be about the battle phase. There are, I think, 5 or 6 slides about Spinous Sect. So I have to save those. I have to save those for that video, unfortunately, but it should be coming soon.
Spinous Sect enjoyers rise up. So I want to throw this to Trevor and Julian. You guys are super duper duper into the competitive scene. I really want to get you
Trevor
guys.
has won a few locals.
Yeah.
So I've heard. More than me.
Actually, my most recent locals that I won.
Oh!
I didn't win that.
He's won a couple of
Skill
them.
issue.
So I do want to throw it to you guys to give your really in-depth opinions here on dazed and enraged You can kind of decide which of you wants to take which one, but because I think these are incredibly impactful, not just within the cards that we discussed earlier, and some other cards that we haven't discussed, like Drataya and Latagon, but I'm sorry, Latagon, kill me. That's how it was said in the video, which makes it the official pronunciation. Yeah, it's my own personal 9/11. So I do want to get you guys' opinions on how Enraged and Days are going to be used and impact in the meta, and also there is a live stream pre-order bundle where you can get little coins that indicate Enraged and Dazed. I think you can find those on the Elestrals website. If you want to get the little coins, you can lock and throw up a little like picture of them here. They're very nice looking. So be sure to check that out as well. But let's throw it to Julian for Enraged and Trevor for Dazed.
Okay, so I think that Enraged is a really cool concept, especially with something like Madness, where you're going to be able to do it on your opponent's turn, because unlike some other games, in Elestrals, you do have to go to battle phase. You can't just skip it. So if your opponent has something like an Astrabbit in defense position, and you flip Madness on it, switch it to attack, force them to attack, if you have anything, or if everything you have is like, 3 attack or higher, they just have to kill their rabbit, which I think is going to be pretty impactful. You're not going to, it's already hard to sit on a defense position Elestral with something like Galaxy. This is going to make it even harder to do that.
Which I think is a good
There's
thing.
a few cards. Say again?
Which I think is a good thing, not having those walls.
Yeah. I think that making the game more aggressive and you're not going to be able to just sit on something in defense is good for the game. There's also some cards like the Latagon that want you to enrage them. In that scenario, I think that, if some discussions that we were having when we didn't know what Enrage and Days were, I was saying these effects are going to be good, even if it just does literally nothing. If Latagon is happy, he has to pop a face down, which goes hard. But enraging and dazing your own Elestrals does fundamentally just remove choice from you as a player. So, as a player, you want to have as much choice as possible. Being forced into doing some things in order to get an effect is not ideal. But I think that, as far as Enrage goes, you want to be attacking every turn anyway. So it's not really going to be that bad.
With Days, I think it's the weaker of the two out of the pair of the keywords. I really wish it also did a position swap. I think you could have a really cool interaction where, we could force something into defense to set it up to get rid of it, right? It also kind of, for me, it fits the theming of like, all right, one swaps to attack, one swaps to defense. It not doing it is like fine, but I do think that I would have liked to have seen it personally go with the extra like position swap for that. That was originally what I thought when we were like kind of spitballing, oh, what do these keywords do? I had kind of pegged like, all right, one does attack, one forces to defense. It's still a strong effect. I mean, there's also the Cyprong champion card that if it's dazed, it just destroys an Elestral with 5 or more attack. It doesn't need to attack in that turn because it's already cleared a threat. So, it's good. So, I mean, I think it's a good mechanic, but I think it is kind of going to be the least used of the two, if I had to guess.
I just thought about it. Skyhawk, are we going to see an update on the text to a card like Gorgons to say, instead of saying like that Elestral can no longer like declare an attack, to say now that it's dazed?
No. There is a difference between something that says you cannot attack and something that says you are dazed, and that is that there are cards that interact with the actual status of dazed. So Gorgons is going to continue to say Elestral can't attack. Ryceros is going to continue to say you can't declare an attack this turn unless you're Thunder Enchanted the turn you cast.
Sure.
So those are two different things. One is applying a status that can be overwritten by Enrage. That's another important thing. You can swap between the two. I should probably mention that on the way out because that was a question a lot of people had. An Elestral cannot be both enraged and dazed. It is either enraged or dazed. So
And they
if a dazed
override.
Elestral, yeah, they will override each other.
It's just whatever the last effect was, right?
Yep. There's and we will have obviously we can't get into everything this episode, but we will have an FAQ document that covers a lot of daze and rage interactions, likely alongside the live stream set FAQ, which should hopefully be out before the Elestrals Kissimmee Open, so that players have got some frequent rules questions or some stuff that we thought would be useful for players to know. So keep an eye out for that doc.
Where would they be able to find that doc when it goes up?
Likely in the Premiere server, ideally as a blog post on the website, but that depends. We'll make sure that it's available and that people know where to find it.
Overall, I think I agree with you guys that I think Enraged is a bit of the more powerful one. And I think that Dazed is going to be good with its own niche interactions. But I think Enraged is crazy.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
I think Enrage is really good. I'm excited for the type of gameplay that Madness is going to create. I think that card is. I think people have been asking for different counter runes to play with, and I think this is one that does match the power level of the existing counter rune suite.
Yeah.
And it's also it's inexpensive. It has a diversity of application. It's very flexible. You can use it offensively. You can use it defensively. There's lots of interesting tools. I think even especially I think now that there are more ways to disrupt an attack in Gorgons and Madness and in Guardian of Light, we're going to start to see I think strategies that have needed to be. I think Enrage takes away some defensive options, but there are also defensive options being added. So I think that's a cool way to handle the Rabbit is easier to get rid of in some ways, but harder to get rid of in others, essentially.
Real quick
cool
too,
dynamic.
just you brought up Madness. One thing, just like a second look over, this card does not require Dionysus to be played. You only need it for the extra heal, so you could just not play anything. You could just have this on its own, and it's a good standalone card.
Yeah, I think that is cool design personally. I think people have expressed in the past this card only works with this specific other card, and that creates deck building challenges. It's difficult for something to be competitive. I do think the useful standalone extra benefit if you're playing the dedicated strategy is a cool way to go about it. So I think the Dionysus deck is going to be very good, but this is also playable generically. It's been
So yeah, this works just like the Artemis Arrow in that it's, it can be cast by itself, but it does have synergy with the Divine, and I agree that that's just great design.
Also, the gameplay skill checks that these new keywords are gonna provide are honestly bananas.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see some really interesting battle phases play out on stream. I think
that this is
that
already
will be
like
cool to watch.
a super skillful game in a lot of ways that people don't necessarily realize, and this is adding a crazy skill layer to this game that it's really going to it's going to be very impactful in really the cream of the crop rising. You know what I mean?
Yeah, y'all haven't even seen everything yet.
Yeah, no, we haven't. I'm super excited to see what else comes up from this. So, with that said, does anybody have any really quick final thoughts on any of this?
Take the rules helpers test. Go to www.elestrals.com /judge-training. There's 3 training modules there available for you, as well as the complete rules reference. If you are interested in joining the Judge program, there's more info in the Judge server as well. And I think there's only 4 of these out there right now, but this is the Judge playmat that's available for in-person events. The Judge call for the Kissimmee Open should be going on very soon, so keep an eye open for that. But if you have just any general questions about Elestrals the game or want to learn more about how it's played or the rules intricacies, shoot me a message. I'll get you started.
All right, and with that, thank you, Skyhawk, so much for joining us. By the way, I do want to emphasize I'm always, as long as I've been a community member in Yu-Gi-Oh and this game, I've always been a very adamant defender of radical transparency. And I think that a staff member being willing to come on the podcast and discuss some of these things like really in depth is super welcome, and having that openness and that accessibility to where we can really have these intelligent discussions in a very constructive way is so important. And I really cannot emphasize enough. Thank you, and thank you to the team for making that happen, which I mean, it wasn't like that big of an ordeal to make it happen because we know each other so long, but it's the concept of coming from other places and other worlds where this wouldn't ever happen. This is a big deal. This is like, radical transparency is good, I think. So
Yeah.
I agree.
Agreed.
It is.
Yeah,
I will
I
say.
can't tell you how many times I've like messaged Skyhawk or even like Dan himself with a question, and I know that they're gonna get back to me.
Yep.
It's one of the things that I love most about this game.
so
Yep. I guess the last point there. It is nice to be involved in a community and working as part of a project that I believe in. I think that is. I think that has been super rewarding over the last year and a half, and I hope to be able to keep doing it.
thank you all so much for joining us on today's episode of the Expended Draw podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, leave your helpful feedback and critiques in the comments below. Be sure to go ahead and subscribe. Like I said, we're going to try to make these like every couple of weeks or so, maybe a little sooner if we get like important stuff to talk about. And we also have stuff like a live stream preview
bedtime.
coming up soon, I believe.
It's bedtime.
Please be sure to go ahead and sign up for the Kissing Me Open if you haven't yet. They still have a few spots available, and we will. I think most of us will be there. I know I'll be there. I know Julian, Trevor, Skog will be there. Law, you're up in the air, I think.
Yeah, I'm moving right now, so kissing me is probably not happening.
Well, we're gonna miss you, but in the meantime, we won't miss all of you who are listening that are going to be at Kissing Me. So please be sure to register for the Kissing Me if you haven't already. Be sure to check out the live stream pre-orders that are happening on the website. Use our Clash code, all that noise. And thank you all again so much for checking out the podcast. Until next time, happy casting.
Bye bye.
Dazed and confused.